Hey folks, Tom Amoroso, Columbus Saber Academy. Welcome back to our LED Sabering Basics video series. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to talk about attacks. 3 cuts to be precise. We actually have 8 different attacking movements, 7 cuts and a thrust. In my perspective, right, for what we teach here, they actually represent the 8 different mechanical ways you can move your body to attack. Yes, if you look in our compass rose, there's 8 directions, right? There's 360 variations of that. You can attack from the shoulder, from the elbow, from the wrist. Justin talked about that in another video. We're going to cover a little bit of that here today. But there's a lot of variation, right? Depending on your footwork, depending on your body position, the guard you start in, a lot to work through. We're going to talk through the basics for our descending cuts and our horizontal midline cuts today. Other videos will talk about our ascending cuts, our downward strikes, thrusts, but we're going to start with those 2, right and left, so 4 total cuts there. So as everything, actually we're going to start this one in a natural stance. So the position we get in to start into guard, our feet are a little farther than shoulder width apart, our saber is down here. We're going to move through some very broad movements, all in the beginning here from the shoulder. Right, so I want you to do is to develop the muscle memory. Would I attack if I'm in short measure and close measure with my opponent? Would I attack with a shoulder cut? Maybe not, probably not, right? But I want you to develop that muscle memory. So from here, I'm going to step back a little bit so we can get a few cuts into frame. I'm going to roll the saber around my head, grab it with my backhand. As I step into guard, I'm going to cut through. Now I stopped in what we call a half cut, middle guard, right? I could very easily have come through, stepped and done a full cut, which takes me to a lower guard position. Now, realize I didn't do this. It looks wonderful on film, depending on who's doing it and who's in charge of the choreography. But from an efficiency perspective, right, the way I teach everyone here is think there's a bubble around your opponent, right? That bubble encircles the opponent. I pop both ends of the bubble for a full cut. That's it. I need to enter at their shoulder, exit outside of their hip, and I'm done. Anything else is really just wasted time unless you're planning a strategy to kind of gauge your opponent. We'll talk about that in other videos. But from a basic cut perspective, I'm going to do these as full cuts to start, and I'll do it a second time as half cuts. So around, step forward, cut. Backwards as well. Anything we do forward, we have to do backwards. And that's kind of standard practice for us. So you can see they're very broad movements. I'm moving my entire shoulder with the attack, right? It's not a wrist, not an elbow. So there is a point in time when the blade goes around my head, behind my body, out of alignment to my opponent. So there is an opening there. But again, we're practicing muscle memory. We're developing technique. Let's do it one more time. I'm going to go sideways with that. So let's line up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. All shoulder cuts. We want to do those at the elbow now. So start in our same stance. As I bring it up, I keep my body in front. My blade doesn't move in front of my face. And with an elbow cut, I really want to stop at half cuts. So I pull my elbows in, strike, pull, strike, strike. Retreating, strike, strike. Sorry, I talk a lot when I'm fighting. It actually keeps me breathing properly. So side view, we're in middle guard. Pull forward, strike, strike, strike. Retreating. Good. I get a lot of questions and I try to go through this with everyone, right? What's my footwork? Do I cut first? Do I step first? Everyone asks. They're good questions to ask. You have to ask those questions. You'll walk into any fencing school anywhere in the world, they will say blade first, body second, right? What does that mean? That means I want to, if I step into measure and then cut, I'm presenting no threat to my opponent. There's nothing they've got to worry about because I'm moving my body into their distance, right? If I move my blade first, they've got to deal with my blade, something coming at them before they can counterattack my body. So the whole point around that is put something out there, in my opinion, right? There's a ton of different theories on this, not theories, but everybody has their own perspective. What I try to teach everyone is, and want you guys to take away is, make sure you've always got something your opponent is going to address. Because again, you want to control your opponent's movements as best that you can. You want to influence their actions as best you can. So if I walk forward and I land that blade first, now they've got to worry about this blade coming at them before they can worry about attacking me. They've got to step out of measure, they've got to make a new center line, they've got to address my blade, something. If I just step in and then attack, they've got, my body is open. Now yes, there's some strategy around that, and sure, you can see someone do it and they'll get away with it. Awesome. Hey, if it works for you, you can walk away, good on you, right? But for your training, I want you to practice it blade first, body second. So what happens is, if I'm here sideways with you guys to get a better view, and I come around, there's a point when that blade starts to pull me into the cut. That's what triggers the step. Right? Around, boom. You can feel, you should be able at some point, feel the blade and feel your weapon pull you into the forward motion. Right? Don't push yourself into it. Let the blade pull you into it, at least for these exercises here. So let's go through this downward cut. Shoulder, elbow. Let's do that. Other angle. Big movements, shoulder, elbow. Right. Cool. Let's talk about from the wrist for a second. Cutting from the wrist. Probably better do this sideways so you can see this. My elbow doesn't move. Everything happens at the wrists. That doesn't mean I step forward before my attack. I still have to wait for the attack to step forward. But the attack is at the wrist, right? So 8 different mechanical movements for cuts. We just did 2, the descending cuts. But at 3 different junctures of your arm, shoulder, elbow, wrist, and there's all kinds of starting positions. I'm starting everything in middle guard. If I start it in low guard, I can start it in shoulder, I can start it in rear guard. A lot of different elements you can add to kind of make the attacking sequence more complex, simpler, really depends on your perspective, but essentially, again, to influence or to trigger an action in your opponent. With that, let's talk about the horizontal cut. So midline cut. So we're going to start middle guard. Same general movement. I'm going to go all shoulders. My attack is going to be a horizontal cut. Now, I never really want to end this one all the way across. I always kind of want to end this one in a guard because I'm really opening up my entire body when I do this. I'm almost kind of forcing myself over, right? So I want to end this one in this middle forward guard speaking. So around, horizontal, strike, strike. Same thing, I'm doing most of these from the shoulder, but I can do them from the elbow as well. Or I can do them from the wrist. Right? I'm doing them in a linear motion here, but I can do them off to the side. I can do them at an angle to my opponent. I can do them retreating in different movements. So you really have a lot of flexibility. And again, the cut is the mechanical movement that we're talking about here. Coupling it with footwork, coupling it with an imitation, following up with a secondary action, all adds to the variations and the abilities and the kind of more tools in the toolbox, so to speak. I use that a lot. I hope that makes sense. From a drill perspective, start in neutral position, some forward, cut down 1. Rotate, step forward, cut down 2. Now do the 2 horizontal cuts. Step forward, horizontal, step forward, horizontal. Retreating, horizontal cut back, horizontal cut, descending cut, descending cut. Now repeat that at the elbow. Descending, horizontal, retreating, now repeat that at the wrist. Do that sideways, at least one pattern up and back. So, middle guard. So you can do that. Great drill to practice. Again, it helps you practice your footwork, body positioning, angles of attack, as well as the attacking movements and mechanics themselves. Have fun. We'll do the remaining cuts. We have 8 cuts that we do across CSA. That represents 4 of them. Descending left, descending right, horizontal midline left or right. Next video is talk about the upward cuts, straight downward attack, the thrust, and actually we can do the upward flick and barrel throw, as you'll hear Rocky say at some point along the line as well. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you again soon.